Now, folks, this here's the wild tale of Colonel Harland Sanders, a man who didn't just cook up chicken, but cooked up a life story wilder than a sack of feral cats in a rocking chair factory. Born in 1890 just outside of Henryville, Indiana, Harland came into this world the hard way and kept at it. His mama was God-fearing to the point she believed coffee, cards, and chewing tobacco all came straight from the devil's pantry. And when she remarried a fella who didn't take too kindly to hand-me-down children, young Harland found himself booted out at age 12 and off to earn his keep. He worked farms by day and schooled by night, till even that wore him out. Quit school 2 weeks into 7th grade, figured he had better luck elsewhere. And elsewhere turned out to be just about everywhere. Streetcar conductor, railroad fireman, mail-order law student, midwife, ferry operator, you name it. He did it all, mostly poorly. He married young, had himself 3 children, then got fired and lost the wife to her folks down in Alabama. Tried to snatch the kids back, changed his mind, and patched things up with the missus, though they'd go on to divorce near 40 years later. Now, he didn't start slinging chicken till age 40, out the back of a gas station in Corbin, Kentucky. Travelers loved his no-fuss food: ham, okra, beans, biscuits. Back then, fried chicken was too slow for folks in a hurry, but Sanders had a knack for advertising, painted barn signs and all. His neighbor, a rival oil station owner, took offense and started painting him over. That led to a confrontation. Guns were pulled. 1 man died. Sanders returned fire but escaped charges, and just like that, he was the king of gas station cuisine in Kentucky. Now, about that colonel business. Sanders served a short stint in the army in Cuba after fibbing about his age, but he wasn't no military colonel. Nope. He was a Kentucky colonel, a purely honorary title given out by the governor like candy at a parade. They gave him one in 1935 and another in 49 for good measure. By then, he'd struck gold, culinary gold, that is. He started frying his chicken in a pressure cooker. Faster, juicier, tastier. Paired it with his now famous 11 herbs and spices, and folks couldn't get enough. His roadside cafe got featured in Duncan Hines' travel guide. Yes, Duncan Hines was a real fella, and Harland was suddenly a star. But fate's a fickle friend. A new highway rerouted traffic from his restaurant, and in 1956, Sanders, at the ripe age of 65, sold the business at a loss and lived on his savings and a $105 Social Security check. Just when it looked like the curtain had closed, franchising opened a new act. Sanders taught a pal in Salt Lake City how to fry his chicken. That friend, Pete Harmon, slapped the name Kentucky Fried Chicken on it and sold it by the bucket. Soon, restaurants across America were dishing up Sanders' recipe and paying him a nickel per bird. Old Harland hit the road again, driving across the country with a trunk full of pressure cookers and a sack of seasoning, pitching his chicken gospel from town to town. By 1963, over 600 places across the US and Canada bore his name. Pete Harmon deserves credit too. He coined finger-licking good, came up with the bucket, and even the standalone KFC concept. But it was Sanders' face that ended up on every bucket. In 1964, at age 73, Sanders sold KFC for $2 million. The buyers promised not to tinker with the recipe and kept him on as the face of the brand. And boy, did they use that face. He was on The Tonight Show, in ads, on posters. KFC's ad budget went from $500,000 to $24 million by 1970. He leaned into his image, grew out his goatee, donned that white suit every day, whether it was cotton in summer or wool in winter. He wore it like a second skin. So much so that one of his old suits later sold for $80,000. But fame didn't mean peace. Sanders despised what KFC became after the sale. He thought their gravy tasted like wallpaper paste and once hurled a plate of food on the floor in disgust. Called it slop. The company sued him for libel, but they lost. Again. Later, he and his second wife, Claudia, opened their own place, Claudia Sanders Dinner House. It served proper food, by his standards. KFC sued them too, for $120 million. They settled for one and shut it down. But that dinner house still stands today near Louisville, serving the real Colonel's chicken. Sanders died in 1980, just shy of 90, and kept working right up until the end. Thousands attended his funeral, and Kentucky flew flags at half-staff. And if you think that's the end of his legend, think again. In 1985, Japanese baseball fans tossed a statue of him into a river after a win, claiming he looked like their star player. The team didn't win another championship for over 20 years. Folks called it the curse of the Colonel. They eventually pulled the statue out in 2009, missing its legs, hands, and glasses. To this day, some say the curse still ain't lifted.